And Jim,
Thank you.
Jim, just a quick question, because I wasn't on the one on virtual graduation. Had you
Yes.
recorded that?
I did record that. So if anybody wants it, just send me a quick email and I'll send it out. It was
Perfect.
so large. These Zoom meetings actually are pretty large. And so I was able to put it on a YouTube channel. So
perfect.
It works fine. And but stick to the end, please, of the virtual tour. I mean, the virtual graduation. Great ideas during the presentation, but I think when the price came up, we were pretty all on, I wasn't familiar with their pricing, and they weren't either with the schools. And so I have since talked to them and said, you do have to come out with a more price conscious point. And I think when they heard the price, people kind of jumped off. Where I think it became really powerful and great ideas came in at the end when everybody stayed on and we just kind of talked about any other creative ideas for virtual graduations or graduations in general. So that kind of popped in at the end. So stick with it, and then it comes at the end. So, but thank you for letting me tape this. So Angie and Jake, I met them at ASAP, which was Association of Independent School Admission Professionals. That's what it stands for. And it's a phenomenal organization. And this year they're having their conference virtually. And I think it's a great opportunity that people can have if they sign up for that conference to have, I think something like 15 recorded topics. So they're a phenomenal organization. But they presented, Angie and Jake presented last year, and it was a standing room only to multiple presentations that they presented on, and it was a really, really great on digital marketing for schools. So they are the experts on digital marketing for schools. But I can introduce you guys and talk a little bit about your company. Enroll Media Group connects your brand with your target audience by leveraging an array of tools and research, including your own technology stack and team. Then they go to market with creative, strategic marketing campaigns designed to reach your goals, from Google Ads and social media to search engine optimization and traditional media. Enroll Media Group's campaigns are designed custom for each school they work with. And I'll tell you, we work with some of their clients, and that didn't happen accidentally, or it kind of just happened accidentally. And those schools are using Enroll Media, and they're really, really benefiting from that. So that's what we're hearing from our clients. So what I'm going to do is share my screen, and then Angie's just going to tell me when to move to the next one. The reason why we're doing this is I have a little Zoom anxiety just because of what happened 5 weeks ago. People know what happened. So I'm going to share the screen with everybody on Angie and Jake's presentation. Give me a second. I'm just kind of, let's see. And I'll let them also talk a little bit about themselves and stuff. So I'll send it over to you guys.
Well, thank you, Jim. Jake and I are so grateful to be here, you guys, for this Brand Together Get Together. And we will be at the Brand Together Conference live in the flesh in August at the Providence Art Club talking about SEO. So we're excited for that as well. So I'm basically going to walk through most of the presentation. Jake is here as well, the co-founder of Enroll Media Group.
Hi, guys.
His wife is working right now, and he has 2 small children, so he may or may not get taken away from us briefly for a minute during this, because we're all balancing being parents at home while working full time. So
we might have special visitors.
Yes.
At some points.
Exactly. So thanks again, Jim. So what we're going to talk about today, if you want to go to the next slide, are a few things. We decided to bring together some of our favorite tools for this presentation today. Some are free, and then there'll be some that are paid tools. Jim, would you mind going to the next slide? It's still on.
Is it still? Oh, it's on the It says that it's telling me that. Give me 1 second.
No problem. I think you need to scroll on that, the scroll bar, because I'm using the PDF.
Yes.
So I think you have to scroll down, maybe hit the down arrow to get to the next.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Because we're not in the presentation anymore.
Is that working?
Nope. Does everybody else just see the lockers, the Enroll Media Group? Yeah.
Yes.
Hold on. Give me a second. Oh, my goodness.
No problem. So yeah, so here you go,
go.
Jim. We're on the second slide now.
Oh, okay.
So what we did is we brought together some of our favorite tools to help schools maximize your marketing budgets during a pandemic. So a lot of what we talk about is going to be free. This presentation is especially geared towards marketing and communications professionals within schools. But if you're in enrollment management or admissions or elsewhere, this is probably still going to be very valuable to you, because these are different tools and technologies and platforms that you guys really need to be thinking about and stockpiling a lot of those great testimonials that you're getting, some of the virtual schoolwork that students are submitting, virtual tours, everything that the whole community within a school is working on right now as a team is really important to be considering how you can actually showcase it through some of the tools we're going to go over. So next slide, Jim, is just our quick agenda. So some of the free tools we're going to be talking about today that we're really excited about are Google products, Google Search Console, Google Analytics, Google Optimize, Google's Page Speed Insights, Google My Business, and then a few other channels and directories like YouTube and education-centric directories. All of those things, 1 through 4, that we're going to talk about are really about raising awareness and visibility through search engine optimization, so getting more people to your website. And then we're going to be talking about in the second half of the presentation some paid marketing platforms for you guys to be considering if you're not already in market with paid Google advertisements, mobile location targeting, which is really cool, creepy cool, as our clients call it, as well as Facebook and Instagram ads. So we're going to be talking about some of those platforms as well in terms of paid advertisements. Next slide. So essentially, a lot of people wonder, what exactly is SEO? What is search engine optimization? And how Jake and I often refer to it is everything that touches your website is SEO. Whenever you're updating a page with content, whenever you're uploading new images, whenever you're pointing people to your website, all of that is SEO. It's all about ensuring more people are going to find your school or your organization through your website online. Next slide. And so there's a couple elements to SEO, and so we're not going to go too in the weeds with what exactly SEO is. We're really going to try to keep this conversation, turnkey, with some tools for you to take back to your coffee table tomorrow. And so basically, just a quick lesson though, there's on-page SEO or on-site SEO as people call it, and that's everything that's going to impact people getting to your website. That is the content on your website itself. And the whole point of on-page SEO is to break down the different elements that help get people there. That includes the content on your website, the back end, the metadata, the user experience, the navigation. All of those elements are on-page SEO. And when you focus on some of those elements, which we're going to discuss with you, you'll increase your likelihood of actually ranking in the search engine results page within Google. You're going to get more qualified traffic to your site, provide a more positive experience, user experience to your students and your parents, and ultimately you're going to get them to convert or take those desired actions, whether it's watch a video, fill out an inquiry form, sign up for a virtual tour, and so forth. The next slide just talks a little bit about what off-page SEO is, often referred to as off-site SEO also. And so all of that includes everything outside of your website. So local SEO channels, social media, YouTube, education-centric directories like niche.com, different articles highlighting your institution, different news websites, and so forth. All of those elements need to be considered as well, especially at this time right now when people are very active online. They're not necessarily on your website as much as they used to be, and we'll talk about some of those statistics, but they are elsewhere on the web. They're consuming news like never before. They're interacting with YouTube and video like never before. So all of that's considered off-page SEO, the ways in which your school is reflected in all of these other directories so that you can increase your awareness, amplify those touch points elsewhere on the web to bring them back to your website. So that's just some basic information about SEO. There's SEO that impacts your website through on-site, and there's also your online presence on all of the other directories and search engines out there today. And so we're going to talk about how to optimize your presence on both your website and off of your website. So on this next slide, Jim, basically this is the best tool to use to get started. If you're not sure that you're paying attention to your SEO right now, or maybe you are paying attention to SEO, you need to dive deeper into Search Console. And if you don't have Search Console set up already, you need to get it done, and you want to work with your marketing or web person to do that. So what is Search Console? Well, basically, it's a free service offered by Google that helps you monitor, maintain, and troubleshoot your site's presence on Google. It's going to help you with all of that on-page SEO as well as that off-page SEO. So the next slide, we're going to talk about why. So first of all, it's free. So that's exciting. There's no reason not to give this a whirl. Search Console is going to really help you understand how your content ranks within Google. So are people getting to your homepage, your admissions pages, your blogs, your virtual tours? Search Console is a tool that's going to help you to understand if you're even showing up when people are looking for your institution or your competitors. Search Console is going to allow you to index your content sooner. So there's a lot of bots out there that are crawling your website all the time, and they send signals to the search engine that allow your website to show up when people are looking for you. So when you index your website, you basically instruct Google to crawl your website and look at all the content you have. So when somebody's searching for something that you might have on your website, it increases the likelihood of you showing up. So Search Console is going to allow you to index your site sooner. It's going to help you find out what keywords you rank for so you can steer your content accordingly. Are you showing up for all girls high schools, top private schools, public schools versus independent schools, best elementary schools near me, pre-K? All of those keywords that you want to be ranking for, Search Console is going to tell you if you're even ranking for them or not. You're also within Search Console going to be notified of any site issues, things like broken links. Nobody likes a 404, so it's going to let you know whenever there's any broken links, issues like that. You can also understand who's backlinking to your website, so that's another important element of SEO. If you recall, it kind of falls under the off-page SEO. So when other people are referring users to your website, that's backlinking. And so you really want to have a sense of what other signals out there are pointing people to your website. And all of this is going to help you benchmark your SEO success. So when it comes to SEO, Search Console is a must-have. Generally speaking, it's something that a marketing or communications person manages in conjunction with your web person, but admissions and enrollment management is very involved in the data and the reports that you extract from Search Console, because that really helps them understand those strengths and weaknesses that exist within your website and what sort of content and technical infrastructure you need to be looking at in order to increase those results and get more qualified traffic to your website. If you go to the next slide, Jim. Yeah, was there a question? Nope. Okay, so here are instructions to set up Search Console. So what you could do is, take a look at this recording or jot down this website right here. You could just Google Search Console and it'll show up. It's really easy to set up an account. It doesn't take long, but you do need to go through this verification process with somebody on your web team, because Google wants to make sure the person setting up Search Console for a given website is truly qualified to be doing that. So you want to make sure that you work with your web person to do it. If you're already working with an organization like Finalsite or Blackbaud, or maybe you're having, maybe you have a WordPress developer that you're working with, they may have already set this up for you. So definitely check in with your web person, anybody who's working in the back end of your website, maybe anybody who is responsible for renewing your domain name each year. They may have already set one up for you and you don't want to have multiple. Next slide. So weird to say that. Next slide.
Can everybody
All
see the slides, or is the bar blocking anything?
I can see it perfectly on my end. What about you, Jake?
Same.
So
Okay, great.
if I center it, it's still centered.
Mhm.
It's not being blocked.
Nope, it looks good.
Okay.
Perfect.
So just to recap, once you set up Search Console, these are the first two things you want to do or work with your marketing person to do. And you want to upload your sitemap first and foremost. So every website should have an XML sitemap. This is basically a directory of all of the pages on your website. You want to upload that to Search Console. Again, it's going to signal to Google, those bots, and then ultimately people, all of the different content that you have on your website, so you can make sure the right pages show up for people who are looking. This is especially helpful if you're generating a lot of new content right there for users. If you have COVID updates, distance learning updates, blogs, it's going to take Google a week or two to recognize that you have this content on your website. So when somebody goes looking for you, you got to wait for those pages to index. This upload within Search Console is going to speed that process up. You're also going to want to run reports on Search Console. What you could do that based on your entire website and just run site-wide reports, or you could run individual page reports, and they're going to tell you your admissions and financial aid pages are ranking, or your COVID update pages are ranking, and just kind of see where you stack up competitively. It's really cool to be able to take a look. This is a little screenshot here. This is Enroll Media Group's website, and to look at queries, within the last year, whenever this is, most people query Enroll Media Group and get to our website. But the second largest keyword that people are looking for before they land on our website is Google brand account suspended. And so that's because we wrote a blog about what happens when your Google brand account is suspended. And some of you may have been impacted by that, but what happened is Google rolled out a change that really impacted K through 12 in terms of logging into their Gmails, Google My Businesses, YouTube, Google Classrooms, and other things. And so we wrote a blog on that topic, and we're able to see what kind of spike in traffic we got specifically from what keywords. So it's really cool what you can drill down on and see. You can also see, again, who's linking to your website, and I highly recommend you take a look at that as one of the top reports you pull when you have Search Console. And then you want to mine that keyword data so that you can start to write more content that's really resonating with your audience, or maybe you're not ranking for keywords that you want to be ranking for and your competitors are. All of this information can be extracted from Search Console. And then here's a little resource for you guys if you did want to learn a little bit more about Search Console. So that completes our first free tool that we recommend schools really take a look at. And the next slide is Google Analytics. So, we have about 30 clients right now, active annual clients, all K through 12 schools, all nonprofit independent schools that we're working with right now. And every single one of them already had Google Analytics on their website before we started working with them in the last few years. Every school pretty much has Google Analytics. And for those of you who don't know, it is a free tool offered by Google. It's a little JavaScript that sits on your website and collects all kinds of user data. And what we want to remind people to do is that, while we might not be on campus and things have certainly changed quite a bit, all of these tools can still be leveraged from home, and it's important more than ever to be paying attention to what your audience is looking for. So Google Analytics is just another tool in that tool belt that you want to make sure you're not ignoring it right now, because you can glean a lot of insights that can really help steer your marketing. With Google Analytics, these are just a few reports that we recommend you take a look at. Where is your audience coming from? So specifically, what channels, what cities, where are they coming from in terms of referrals? What other websites out there are pointing people to your website? What digital ads are performing for you? Is it Facebook? Is it LinkedIn? So there's all kinds of information that's sitting right within Google that you can really just take a look at to understand what your audience is doing right now. What I love about Google Analytics is you're not just going to see where they're coming from. You're going to see, are they taking those desired actions and goals that you want them to? Are they filling out inquiry forms? Are they signing up for your virtual tours? And so more specifically, when getting a new family in the door is so valuable, especially right now, you want to know how you got that family. So they might say, oh, I know somebody who went there. I got a print ad. I saw, I came across you online. With Google Analytics, you can actually drill down to what digital query they searched for before they got to your website, or what ad with what image they clicked on before they got to your website and converted. So this is really helpful information when you want to try to find similar families. So what you want to think about when you're looking in Google Analytics is, did the users from niche.com, were they qualified? Did they complete those inquiry forms? Or of the 10 people I had that came to my live Q&A panel last night, where did they come from before they registered for that event? And again, you can find this data in Google Analytics if things are set up properly. And then all of that is just really going to help you improve their user experience, help you improve your marketing to them, help you understand what it is they're looking for on your website. I'm actually going to move something on my screen right now. I'm getting some updates. So just the screenshot I have here, I thought, was interesting, but, this is the top screenshot up there is actually a client's internal site search. So I went ahead and just searched for summer camp COVID just to see what would show up, because I was curious if their summer program was still planning on happening. And you could see that they have an internal site search there. But then when I go to Google Analytics and actually pull a report, and that's that screenshot on the lower right, you can actually see the different terms that people are looking for within their site and what pages show up. So that's going to allow you to really take a look at, okay, when somebody gets to my website and uses that internal site feature, what are they looking for? And then go and try that out and see what's showing up. And a lot of times what's showing up might not match what somebody's looking for. And what you're going to want to do is start to include the keywords that people are looking for in the page's content itself to rectify that situation. You really want to make sure the right pages on your own website are showing the correct page to the query that prospective parents are looking for on your website. So again, all of these things can be found right in your Google Analytics. It's going to take some time to learn this platform. Hopefully there's somebody on your team that's relatively comfortable with Google Analytics. If not, here's a great resource for you. It's called the Google Analytics Academy. It's free, and it's going to basically run through the basics. But again, you really just want to be asking yourself, where are people coming from? What channels, what keywords, and how does that help me inform my marketing? And how should I be adjusting my content accordingly? So this is a really good time of year to be diving into some of that data and not ignoring what parents are looking for right now. If you could go to the next slide, Jim. This tip is about integrating analytics with Search Console. So now that you have Search Console set up and you know how to get in there, you have Google Analytics, maybe you know how to get in there, you want to connect the two. And so connecting the dots is great, because not only are you going to be able to see, what keywords you're ranking for and what pages show up and who's getting there, but then you can start to marry that with, well, what did they do once they got to my website? Did they use that internal site search? Did they visit the pages I wanted? Were they all just bouncing and leaving my website because they had a poor experience? Did they actually sign up for that virtual info session once they got there? So it's really going to connect the dots. It's how you're ranking and SEO, and then what they're doing on your website, and if that was the desired action that you wanted. And so you can really use this data, again, to steer your marketing. And I don't just mean paid ads, but the marketing that's on your website itself, because really your website is one of your greatest marketing assets. And it's where you really need to be reflecting the latest and greatest and meeting the demands of prospective parents. Next slide, Jim. Another free Google tool is called Google Optimize. And so this is really for the techie risk taker, I guess, in the audience. I've played around with Google Optimize some, and we have a handful of clients who've done it as well, but really it's about web personalization. And so Google Optimize, again, is free, and it's pretty cool. It helps online marketers increase visitor conversion rates by testing different combinations of website content. So if you can imagine, I'm coming to the website and I'm continually looking at lower school versus upper school. You might want to change up that content on your Visit Us page so that it speaks to lower info sessions versus upper school. You could tailor messaging based on geographic location. So because I'm in Florida and your school's in Detroit, maybe you could assume that right now I'm actually interested in your boarding school offerings versus your day. And you could change up that messaging and that form. You can also tailor content based on ads they clicked on. So if somebody clicked on a specific Facebook ad or Google ad, you know a little something about that person. So in theory, you could actually serve up dynamic content to them. So Google Optimize, really works within any content management system, whether you have WordPress or Blackbaud. It's, again, a code that would go onto your website, sort of similar to Google Analytics, but it's going to allow you to get creative. So usually the person who's managing the website, responsible for uploading that creative, would really want to take a look at Google Optimize to see if there's an opportunity for you to kind of look at the data, what are the patterns, and then how do we nurture those different prospective parents based on what we know about them so that they can see content that's more relevant. And with that A/B testing, you can start to make permanent website changes with that. You can start to say, well, 9 times out of 10, when somebody of this demographic sees this call to action, they click. And there's usually a control group in there that Google Optimize will recommend. Jim, if you go to the next slide, what's really cool right now is they increased the limit for the free package. So you can actually have more than your 10 free customizations right now, because they really want schools to be able to leverage the banner and the COVID updates option that they just rolled out. So this is a great way. I mean, most content management systems have a way for you to, display some sort of banner or takeover or announcement, but you can also do that with Google Optimize and see which banner gets more engagement without being obtrusive. So it's a really cool rollout that Google Optimize is offering all businesses and schools right now. It's with, again, the free Google Optimize package, and they've increased the number of free variants, if you will, that you can have on your website right now, because they understand there might be more messages, one for current families. Maybe if you could tell they came from the portal or that they've been to your website a lot, you might consider showing them a current family announcement versus people who've been to your website for the first time. So there's all kinds of ways, again, you can use this tool. It is not necessarily for the digital marketing novice to use. We would recommend somebody who's comfortable within a content management system play around with this. But we thought it was a great free tool to throw out there, especially if anybody has downtime on your web team and does want to start playing around with something. And then as recruitment season continues, how can you apply that to prospective families to get more boots on ground tours, open house attendances, applications, things like that. So it's a great time to play around with this, and then in the fall maybe roll out some real personalized content for recruitment purposes. Next slide, Jim. All right, so one of our last free tools for you guys to think about is Page Speed Insights. So again, on the search engine optimization theme here, how to optimize your website, get more people to your website, analyze what's happening, optimize it accordingly. Page speed insights is really important. This is a free tool. You can try your site for free here on this website, or just Google page speed insights and you're going to get this link. But why it's important is because Google's indicated that site speed is one of the signals that its algorithm factors when it comes to what website to show up in the Google search engine results page. So in other words, the slower your website, the least likely Google is to show your website over your competitor school's website if their site is faster. So page speed is really important. And so a lot of times, what will happen is that even if Google shows your website and a user gets there, whether on mobile or desktop, and it takes more than 3 seconds to load, half the time, studies show, half the time people will leave. So not only have you worked hard to rank, and not only do you have a website that shows up, but if the page speed is so poor, somebody will actually bounce before that page renders. So that's just a very scary thing. So you really want to be paying attention to page speed. A lot of times there's beautiful websites out there that just need a few tweaks to get that page speed up there, especially if you have one of those large hero images or video. There's some you don't have to redo your website. Don't get scared if you have a low page speed, but it's probably going to give you some feedback, like image compression feedback, and different things that might be really slowing it down. And you could really just focus on your top pages, your top admissions page, visit page, application requirements, your home page. So really just focus on the top pages and get comfortable with this tool, and talk to your developer and your website person if your score is really low, because you do want to try to get that up there, since it is a factor for SEO and user experience. All right, so next slide. All right, now we're going to talk about Google My Business. So Google My Business, if I was actually sharing my screen right now, which I'm not, I would Google a number of schools. It's a fun exercise. You guys should open up a window and Google your own institution right now. But what's going to show up is your Google My Business profile. It's a free and easy to use tool for businesses and organizations to manage their online presence. So it usually, there's a few examples in the next slide, but it's usually one of the first things that shows up on mobile device, and even on desktop, it's going to show up on the right side. So if you go ahead and you do a search for the institution that you work at, if you see a little something that says own this business, this means that you might not have verified your Google My Business property yet. And so Google's smart enough to know where a school is, their website, some basic information, especially if you have a Wikipedia account, it'll bring it in from there. But it's not going to put nice little photos on your website. It's not going to include all of the information that you want. You actually have to verify your Google My Business property and make all those updates. So step one is to make sure that your Google My Business account is verified. And again, it's going to show up on the right-hand side if you're on your desktop with the knowledge graph and some pictures, and on a mobile device, it usually shows up first. So you do have to search for your brand name for this to show up generally. Unless you're in really close proximity physically to your school, you could probably just search for private schools or private high schools or all girls schools, and you would probably show up. But it's less likely that you show up for a non-branded term unless you're really close by. If you go to the next slide, Jim, we have a few tips here. So what you want to do once your Google My Business is verified is you want to optimize that property. So you can add categories like school. You can update photos. A lot of the photos are user generated. So if you see something like a random brick wall or a dog, you can flag those photos and Google can remove them for you. But anybody really can leave a business and go to their Google My Business profile and add photos. So it's really important that you gain control over your Google My Business and verify it so that you can ensure somebody on campus is responsible for keeping an eye on user-generated content like photo uploads. You're also going to want to set up tracking on it. So you can see how many people are getting to your website from your Google My Business property. Right now it's going to get lumped under just regular Google Organic, but you can put a special UTM code or tracking code on your Google My Business property to be able to see who's actually coming from there. You're going to be able to link with your social accounts. You can manage reviews on Google My Business. Although that has changed for many schools and continues to change for many schools, the review function for Google My Business is going away, sadly, for education. But a lot of schools still do have reviews on their Google My Business property and the ability to flag them if they are untrue or defamatory in any way. But otherwise, you know, what else you can do with this property is really just ensure your hours are correct, your phone number is correct. If you're temporary closed or not. I saw Worcester Academy. I'm in Central Mass, so this showed up for me. But you know, I really recommend, unless you actually are closed, that you don't have this temporary closed flag on here. What Google did is they proactively, at first, the week of March 16th, they actually proactively went ahead and put permanently closed on all schools, Google My Business properties, which was alarming. And then they moved it to temporarily closed. But what we recommend you do is actually go in and mark that you're open. I mean, if you are open for admissions conversations right now, you absolutely don't want to have closed there. Just because your campus is closed, it doesn't mean you're closed for business. If you have distance learning and remote learning in place, which pretty much every school does, you again don't want to signal that you're closed. You actually are open. It's just that your campus can't be physically occupied at this time, but you're very much still open. And so I really recommend you mark your Google My Business profile as open right now. I'm seeing a question come through, Jim. Do you mind if I address it?
Yep. No problem.
Oh, you know what? It's private. It's a private one. So let me just see. Okay, so somebody, this is probably a common problem. So somebody has clicked on own this business and it says, we're sorry, but you don't have access to this Google My Business. Please contact your administrator for access. So in that case, what it sounds like is happening is somebody tried to actually verify it already, and that's probably in progress. So it hasn't removed the own this business prompt yet, but I would talk to your marketing person, your web or communications person, because it's likely that somebody has access right now. Usually as soon as you click own this business, they give you temporary access, and then once it's verified and confirmed, usually get something in the mail, and then you punch in a code so that it can be properly verified. So my guess is your school is probably in the middle, and it can take weeks, even a couple months sometimes, for that process to get fully ironed out. It's probably in progress. So somebody on your team hopefully has access and has a login already to your account. Is Worcester Academy on this line by any chance? They're not a client of mine. I just sometimes, again, they're close by. Our Enroll Media Group headquarters are right up the road from Worcester Academy. So the next slide, Jim, we have more Google My Business tips on the way. So Google Posts are a really cool feature. Basically, it's free real estate on the Google search engine results page. What you can do is run a post. You can highlight fundraising in the case of the Village School, any special discounts that are happening right now, scholarships, any local events or virtual events. Blogs, if you just rolled out a new blog, highlight that as a Google My Business post. Any announcement really can be used by way of Google My Business post. So you can do events, you can do updates. Once you're logged into your Google My Business profile, you're going to have the ability to add photos, update that content, create posts, link them to a designated landing page on your website or blog. So posts are a really cool feature, and you can have more than one post at a time. I have another example on the next slide. One of our clients, Walden School of Music, is having a virtual information session. So one of the free ways they're marketing this info session is through a Google My Business post. And so again, this is free real estate. When somebody clicks on it, it expands. And for the clients who are running Google My Business posts right now, generally they get at least 1 or 2 conversions when there's an actual event to convert for. So we're always excited to see that. We put a UTM code. And if you don't know what that is and you want to know, you should look it up. UTM codes are great little ways to track clicks to your website, and we put them on all our Google My Business profiles and posts, and then you can track which posts actually led to conversions. So again, it's free, and there's a lot of opportunity for schools to be maximizing this right now. You can go to the next one. How are we doing on time, by the way, Jim? I think I only have like 10 minutes left.
Yeah,
Is
but
that
you
all
can
right?
talk as long as people want to stay on.
Okay,
That's the beauty of.
cool. We're not getting kicked out. Well, so just quickly, there, we're big into data at Enroll Media Group. So just know that within your Google My Business property, you can get all kinds of insights, like who visited your website, who requested directions, who called you, right from that property. Next slide. You can see how many people got there as a result of searching for your brand. So Beaumont School versus private all-girls schools near me. That would be, Beaumont would be brand, private schools near me would be non-brand. So you can actually look to see how many people are getting served up your Google My Business property and knowledge graph, and for what keywords. On the next page, I think we have the keywords report. So in this case, small little school near me, the village school, what they were able to see all the different things people searched for before they engaged with their Google My Business property. The farm school, private schools near me, elementary schools, alternative schools, best private schools, and then a lot of brand searches, of course. But it's a nice way to get some insight into what people are looking for and if you're showing up or not. Next slide. You can also glean insights on target geographies. So for one of our clients outside of Boston, the Chestnut Hill School, we did some work with them. They were able to see from which areas of concentration in the Boston area they were getting more engagement from, which was similar to their enrollment data, but there was a few hot spots and new areas of opportunity. And for another client of ours, we were actually able to see a lot of people from an outlying community were looking up directions and likely seeing that it was 45 minutes away and not going to the website. So they actually did a post that said carpool services in every town, up to five spots in the following towns. And they were able to leverage, these communities who were clicking on directions. And then anecdotally, people from those communities were saying, oh, it's too far. I heard it's too far. So they created posts around carpooling. So it's a great way, again, to address the needs and concerns that prospective parents have through data and making those decisions in a data-driven fashion. So I think that's it for Google My Business. Nope, just kidding. It's so hard when I don't, when I'm not leading the presentation. You can also add video. So Chapel Hill Chauncey Hall had a great video here on their Google My Business property last year. So you can upload this not only as a post, but you could also just upload it to your property in general so that you have videos constantly for people to take a look at. And I think that is it for Google My Business. All right, so just to recap here, the tools we've gone over are Google's Search Console, Google Analytics, Google Optimize, Google PageSpeed Insights, and Google My Business. They're all free. And if this was the live slideshow, this was a funny animation, but that's all right. Trying to use some pop culture in here a little bit. So the next tip on the lines of SEO is to optimize your presence on the second largest search engine in the world, YouTube. So while search traffic might be down in Google for schools, meaning people are looking for private schools, actually searching for schools, a little bit lighter right now in this time, it doesn't mean they're not online. They're very much online. They're actually on YouTube. They're on social media. They're on websites, news websites. They're very much online more than ever. So you really need to get creative and not just keep in mind SEO best practices that we went over, but think about optimizing your YouTube channel. And when we mean optimizing, we mean everything from, restructuring it, making sure you have an account, making sure you have playlists, but also editing together some distance learning highlights that you might have to show your community how you're supporting families through this time, letting people know that you're still available. So while the campus might be closed, you very much are still there. And not everybody wants to see kids on computers all day and in virtual submissions of artwork. So definitely don't be afraid to highlight your campus too when it is buzzing, because again, this is a long-term purchase. This isn't somebody looking to go to your school in the next month or so. It might be next year, it might be the year after. So feel free to just get creative with some of the footage you have on hand, or hire somebody to do some fresh film in photography, editing, or shooting for you, and get that content on YouTube because your families are there and looking, and video is just a great way to tell that story. And also optimize your new library and your old library. That means making sure there's keyword rich titles. Don't have, video 1 rough cut 30 seconds as the name of your video. You want to say why Bennett Day School is Chicago's progressive school, or why, you really want to be using, again, going back to keyword data, you want to keep those titles and descriptions keyword rich. You want to have meta titles and descriptions on all of them. Make sure they're all closed captioned. That's going to help with SEO because YouTube's a search engine in and of itself. And then of course you want to get people to your YouTube channel. So make sure once you have this library on there, you get followers. So you're asking families in your newsletter, don't forget to like us on YouTube. Don't forget to check out and share your favorite videos on YouTube. Post about them on social media. You got to get people to YouTube in order to get more visibility so that when people are searching for educational resources or schools on YouTube, it raises the likelihood that your videos will appear because followers and subscribers help that SEO value. And there's also some great YouTube analytics that can be found right within your YouTube account where you can check out, metrics for individual videos and, the most popular times, how people are getting to YouTube, even keywords and demographic reports are all available right in YouTube analytics. All right, Jim, I think that's it for YouTube. But along those SEO lines, so not thinking about your website, there's other directories out there, and it's free for you to optimize these profiles. Now, some of these websites, niche.com, niche, greatschools.org, private school review, boarding school review, all of these websites, there's a certain level in which you can control that content. You can upload fresh photos. You want to make sure your information's correct. You want to make sure that all of these profiles have some continuity. I know when we do education directory audits for our clients, there's oftentimes discrepancies in things like tuition, student body. So you really want to submit those changes to these platforms if there isn't a way for you to log in and update that information yourself. I think with Great Schools, there's a login for that for you to do it, whereas with Niche, you might have to go through your rep. So every site's a little different, but these are the top 4 for you to check out if you're a boarding school, boardingschoolreview.com. Otherwise, Niche, Great Schools, and Private School Review are great places to start. And again, and we're not saying you have to go and get the paid version, but you do need to check out these properties and optimize your presence there. If you want to prioritize a little bit, go ahead and check out Google Analytics. I guarantee Niche is going to be probably one of the top referrers in there, up there with social media like Facebook. It's a very popular website for schools, depending what grades you offer. And you'll probably see some Great Schools or Private School Review as well. I did get a question on Vimeo, so I'm just going to address that super quick. We use Vimeo. What are your thoughts on that? So Vimeo is great, and it depends what your goal is. From a marketing perspective, to get your videos out there, YouTube really is the winner because more people are on YouTube than searching for Vimeo. So we always say from a marketing perspective, you want to have your assets on YouTube. It doesn't mean Vimeo doesn't have a role in terms of how you're organizing them, sharing them with your certain members of the community or current families. So again, it depends on your goal, but if you really want a video to get out there, go viral, optimizing it on YouTube is going to be your best bet. And you could have both as well. And then there was another one, how useful are these directories? How can I evaluate whether they're useful for my school? So I do recommend going into Google Analytics in that case and taking a look at where your referrals are coming in from, and then looking at those properties. I mean, there's dozens of them out there. There's schooldigger.com. There's all kinds of websites. I just listed the top 4 as a starting point for you guys. So I would recommend starting with those 4 or taking a look in Google Analytics to see which other referrals are out there. You're welcome. Awesome. So just to recap, your free marketing tools checklist is focus on your on-page SEO with Search Console, Analytics, Optimize, and Page Speed Insights. And then you want to look at the other properties outside of your website to help with off-page SEO. Google My Business, YouTube, Niche, greatschools.org, Private School Review. So now we're going to, we have three products around paid advertising. So Google Ads, again, you need money to advertise in Google. You know, it can be as little as $10 or $15 a day. There are some schools who spend upwards of $100 or $200 a day, depending on their goals, but you can reach prospective families through paid search, and that's a paid search ad right there. Private schools near me, you can see on the right, top private middle school, again, that's Worcester Academy. And so that's what a Google search ad is. And the level of intent is so strong because somebody is looking for you in that moment, and you can control what they see, what ad is the landing page, what that call to action is, versus with organic. First of all, you're probably not ranking for private schools near me organically because it's not a branded term. But even if you are, maybe your SEO is really strong, and when you search for private schools, your school shows up for prospective families. But even then, you're not controlling what page that is, and it's probably just your home page. It's not a very admission-centric message that appears for schools. So Google paid search is a great way to control that message, bid on keywords that you want to be ranking for. So that's an example of a paid search or PPC ad. Display is a great way to re-engage people through retargeting if they've been to your website before. After they leave your website, maybe they're on a local news website, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Mommy Blogger, YouTube, maybe they're just out there consuming other content and news. They could be eligible to see your banner ads through Google Ads if they've been to your website before, or if they hit the behavioral criteria. You can target by zip code, you know, where do they live, cities, radiuses, household income, behavioral attributes like parents, ages of children, and so forth. So you don't just want to dump a bunch of money in Google and say, you know, just bid on schools and reach everybody in a 15-mile radius of this school. You really want to be targeted, and you really want to set up specific keywords that have had a lot of research put into them, and you really want to select a very tight-knit audience for any outreach efforts, and we highly recommend retargeting always get layered on into that. Within that same Google Ads ecosystem is YouTube. So through the same platform, you can get ads on YouTube. This is an example of one of our clients, St. Andrew's School in Rhode Island. I was, you know, watching some Good News Now, and I happened to see their ad showing up on YouTube. You don't necessarily have to have video assets to be on YouTube, although you can run pre-roll. You can also just have static ads that are on YouTube as well. Through Google Ads. You can see it's an ad here because it says ad in yellow. So that's basically Google Ads. I think I got a question about Google Ads. Let me just take a look. All right, this is looks like somebody's trying it out, and they're going to try it again. Thank you. Awesome. I'd love to hear how it goes for you. I love Google Ads. It is like the bread and butter of every single one of our clients' leads. Jake's nodding because we can't say enough about Google Ads. There was a rumor a year or two ago that Google Ads was a waste of money for schools, and it is not at all. It's definitely one of the largest sources of traffic, and qualified traffic at that, and leads for all of our clients. It's like the one always on strategy that all of our schools have, no matter what time of year, they always have it because the level of intent is so strong behind those keywords. So one thing that I wanted to talk about, it's not Google. We're taking a break from Google for a hot second here. This is mobile location targeting. And so this is a really cool technology. We leverage a platform in-house for mobile location targeting. This is really cool right now because, well, families aren't out and about at businesses and organizations and driving around and seeing those billboards and getting ads within their offices and workplaces. Everybody's home. And with mobile location targeting, you can get into the homes, into the devices on parents and students' devices within that home down to the physical street address. So this is a great way to amplify touch points for added branding and awareness while everybody's home, get ads right into those individual homes. It's a great complement for any direct mail or traditional efforts. So if you are getting a view book mail to those families, you can send them mobile location targeting ads as well. Any direct mail that's going to those homes, perfect complement to have mobile location targeting ads into those homes. And then even after that point, even after you're targeting these folks in these homes, the technology can stay with those devices. Once they go back to work and once life goes on, you still have those devices that you can reach out to. So it follows them. It's a great way to promote upcoming admissions events, whether virtual or not, as well as for fundraising efforts. So maybe you have a list of alumni, a list of donors. You can take those street addresses, upload it to this platform, and get in front of those constituents and market any development efforts that you have. Next slide, Jim. We're gonna stay on mobile location targeting for 2 more slides here. In terms of the places, like I mentioned, you can get right into those homes within a proximity of 0.1 of a mile. So you will get the neighbor, depending how congested the area is. It's parcel targeting, so you get that whole parcel, that backyard, that driveway, that home. But depending how congested that area is, you might get the neighbors. But birds of a feather. So you can also get them in workplaces once people are at work, feeder buildings that hold a high population of prospective families. It's a great way to target people within those areas. Even events, we've had clients who maybe have a booth at a conference or at a trade show, and they want to market everybody who's gone to that trade show that weekend, and then those ads follow them home once they grab that mobile device. So it's really through an advanced technology. This has been around for years in the e-commerce and different retail industries. I worked in higher ed for 8 years before launching Enroll Media Group with Jake, and it was very common in higher ed, and we're just thrilled to be rolling it out to private schools over the last year. On the last slide about mobile location targeting, Jim, I think this is data. I love this slide. So, while print has such an important role, it amplifies that touch point that families need to have. Their home. I was telling Jim earlier, when the mail comes, it's like the highlight of our day. Our kids are all excited and we wave and thank them. Print is very much still alive. Print is not dead, says the digital marketer. So trust me. But it's all about multiple touch points. And what I love about mobile location targeting is you can actually A/B test, of the people who got that print piece to those mailing addresses and also were served digital ads, they had a higher likelihood of coming to the website and going to the event versus the homes that just had the digital ads. So we do testing like that. It's great. But what I love about mobile location targeting is that you can actually track that data. You can see which homes were served those ads, who clicked, who got to the website. Through analytics tracking, you can see if they actually converted. And then when life is back to normal, you can actually track back who was served a mobile location targeting ad and who made it to campus for an event. So that is the ultimate match back. That device ID will be tracked back on campus, and that will signal to our platform that mobile device that you targeted at this home 9 weeks later showed up on campus for an event. So it's really cool. So we're happy to talk about mobile location targeting today. And I just have on the next 2 slides some samples of how those ads look. So you have your interstitial, you've got the banner ads. This is one of our clients who ran mobile location targeting ads. And then on the next slide, I have another example as well for a local Boston client. So just to give you a sense of kind of how these appear on those devices, it has to be a mobile device or a tablet. This is not for desktop targeting. And then oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, no, I was just going to say we have one question, which might actually be a good transition into your next slide, about recommended budget for Google Ads, if planning to budget for the future.
Nice. So for Google Ads, it depends on it depends on what your budget is. You can spend, I would say, as little as, $300 a month, like $10 a day. we have some schools who spend $3,000 a month on the higher end. Those are usually day and boarding schools. So I would budget around, you know, 1,000 if you're really going to give it a try, depending on how large your geography is. If you're a small day school in a more rural area, less. If you're in a competitive city, then you might want to spend more. So it's going to depend. And then if you were to use Enroll Media Group to manage your Google Ads campaign, you know, we generally charge somewhere between $500 and $750 a month to manage that campaign for our clients and do all of that for them so that they don't have to learn the platform. But we have a lot of schools who run them in-house, and we just help them with things like conversion rate optimization. The platform is pretty intuitive, but it's also very easy. So I'll warn you, if you're going to take it in-house, it's very easy to spend money quickly. And so Google will tell you, similar to Facebook, if you've ever boosted a Facebook ad, you know what I'm talking about. Add $50 more a day and reach 100 more people, add more. And they even make suggestions like, you could reach more people if you reduce your bid, if you adjust your bidding setting, or if you just bid on schools versus private schools. And all of these recommendations that ultimately result in Google getting more money and you getting, you know, less traffic, less qualified traffic and conversions. So, you know, be very careful, put those Google lenses on if you're going to run it in-house, and keep an eye on it. But I definitely think that every school should be running Google Ads if you have admissions goals, such as event attendance that you want to boost attendance for. If you have anything around application goals or info sessions, anything specifically that you want to market right now, Google Ads is a great way, again, to get qualified traffic to your website, to that landing page. And it's one of those things that gets you leads relatively quickly. Whereas things like mobile location targeting, even sometimes social media and print, sometimes there's a longer life cycle there. It's part of that consideration process and part of that journey. Things like Google Ads tend to get you leads and results right away. So it's not something you really have to wait for. SEO, what I talked about for the first 40 minutes, does take a while to pay off also. So if you start working on these things, you can expect to see slow lifts in traffic over the series of a few months. Whereas Google Ads, as soon as it's on, you're getting those leads. But on the downside, as soon as that budget runs out, you're not getting any more traffic. Whereas sometimes print and SEO and some of the other strategies have a longer long-term payoff, if you will. So there's a lot of things to consider, and I think all of these elements have a role. You don't want to put all your eggs in necessarily one basket. You want to be focusing on your SEO for a long-term investment while considering Google, while considering the place that print and mobile location targeting have in that. Just this last slide is about social media. So in addition to, you know, keeping up your organic presence, making sure you're posting things like blogs, testimonials, all of that content that you know, you're used to putting on social media for free, you want to think about running some paid ads for Facebook and Instagram as well. Again, similar to Google, if you have specific goals around getting registrations for an event or getting more applications, or even just starting to, you know, fill that funnel a little bit for fall recruitment season. Facebook ads are a great thing to look into if you have some marketing budget. Facebook bought out Instagram, so it's one platform. You get impressions on Facebook, impressions on Instagram, and you can leverage lists for even better targeting on Facebook. So if you have inquiries, if you have a huge list of current families, inquiries, applicants, you can actually load that into Facebook and target them. They have to be opt-in. Or you could use those addresses to build what's called a lookalike audience, to find more people on social media that look like the people that are interested in your school. And that's a nice option if you don't just want to use the out-of-the-box selections in Facebook, like parental status, ages of children, and some other interests. It's a really nice way to get a little bit more targeted with Facebook. I think that's it, Jim. Yeah, the last note is to remember to tie all of this back to Google Analytics, especially if you're investing from a paid perspective in any sort of advertising with a vendor or in-house paid and organic ads. all should really be tracked back to analytics, but paid especially, because you really want to make sure those marketing dollars, especially at this time, are being used in the most targeted and effective way possible. So tying everything back to Google Analytics to understand which Facebook ads, which Google ads, which mobile location targeting ads perform best for you, how many leads you got, how many applicants you got from those campaigns. All of that can be tracked. It is not a mystery with digital ads. It's very clear. There's the data there to support what that return on investment is from a cost per applicant, cost per enrolled student. And so you really want to make sure you set up your campaigns to be able to measure that return on investment through things like Google Analytics and the platform reporting that's available. Jake compiled some resources for everyone. So if you have the recording of this, or if you want this presentation itself, I'm sure Jim can arrange sending it to you. But just some nice COVID resources that we've come across from Final Site, Blackbaud Enrollment Management Association, ASAP, the Association of Independent School Admissions Professionals. There's another one on the back. These are some nice technical resources for you that Jake was able to pull together from Google, Facebook. So if you need some help kind of pulling together some of these resources, Jim might have a few of his own that he wants to add on to here, but we just wanted to get some more information out to you guys on the heels of this presentation if you need more digital marketing tips.
Is that it, or are there other questions that came up that you?
Is there a program we use for mobile targeting? Is the next one?
Yeah. So what we use is a platform called Ground Truth. So that's what we use, and we've vetted a lot of platforms, and that's the one we really like best. We actually use a couple, but Ground Truth is the one that I would say is the most intuitive. If you were looking to do it in-house, with anything you need to set up conversion tracking and goals and an A/B test and all of that, and it might prompt you to spend more money. Yep, it is Ground Truth. That's the name, and that's what we use in-house, and so that's what most of our clients are on. I see a couple people waving. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. I hope it was helpful for you.
Yeah, this was great. Thank you guys so much. If anybody wants a copy of it, just let me know and I can send that out. I don't have a listing of who's on the Zoom meeting today. So if anybody wants a copy of it, I can definitely send it out. And if there's any other questions that may come up later on, tonight, tomorrow, in the future, I know Angie and Jake are completely accessible with emails and stuff, and as we are.
Absolutely.
Yes, you can find us on enrollmediagroup.com. You can email info@enrollmediagroup.com. And we're happy to help you if we can. It is definitely a time where we all need to come together and help each other out. And so we're happy to do so if we can.
And also, I know people are sending it through chat. Can you email me just to remind me? Because once this goes down, I'll be like, whoops, so just email me a quick email and just say, can you send me the presentation? More than happy to. So thank you, everybody. I hope everybody stays safe. Next week, we're going to be here around the same time. I'll send a link of what the topic will be, but I'm getting topics almost daily about what to talk about. So stay tuned and you'll get more email. Thank you so much, everybody. Thanks, Angie. Thanks, Jake.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, thank you for hosting, Jim.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone. Stay safe.
Bye, Leslie.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, Leslie.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Jim, I have a quick question. It's Catherine, since I'm just here.
Hi.
So just actually that made me think of, because it's like our current website is so like dated and we're going to have the new one. Is all of that